can't tell
for
me
that.
Okay.
what it is.
Well, I didn't know if
I
you
don't know
wanted to
that they
call
know
him
exactly what it is.
Okay,
It's
okay.
just kind of a combination of things, you know.
It's, stress is accelerated, so.
Yeah.
We'll see. We'll find out more later as soon as they go back to the doctor and see what.
Can you stay home and relax?
That's what I got that phone.
Yeah,
He will. Send it over to District 5.
absolutely. Thank you. I got a good board technique.
I do too. Damn.
What?
Well, there's our attorney. I know I'm waiting there, Janice, patiently. Ready? Well, good morning. Let's call this budget work session to order. August 13th at a little after 9. This time, let's go to the Lord in prayer. Gracious Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the wonderful day you've given us, Father, and I pray that you just watch over us throughout the business of the county. Father, I thank you so much for the many, many people that have gone before us as serving as public servants, and Father, that the men and women in the military, Father, as they watch over us to keep us safe here at home and abroad. Father, I pray that you just forgive us of our many sins, and I pray that you watch over Mr. Wood, Father, during his trying times and his health issues. Father, I pray that you just help us throughout this budget hearing and this budget process for the betterment of Rankin County, and that it be pleasing in your sight. For it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Amen.
All right, at this time we have attendees, Mr. Lynn Norris. Bam, you're up. How you doing today, sir?
Doing well, doing well.
Good.
Much
Man.
better than I deserve.
That's okay.
That's a
Same
good one to
with all
start
of us.
with.
That's right.
Well, I don't have my glasses on, so I'll probably miss the whole.
It's all right, as long as the numbers are pretty close, that's what's.
They're stapled. Okay. I have 3 scenarios here. Yeah, go ahead. I'm struggling enough with this.
Thanks, sir.
I can't see with my glasses on or without. What? Let's see.
Yeah, let's make sure the attorney gets
Laura has
one.
been very instrumental in helping develop these scenarios.
Great.
And I'm much better up here than I am back
That's
there.
fine. No, you're fine right where you're at.
And they developed, we came way through their efforts to have a scenario 4 that's not on here that I think it goes along with 3. We have scenario 1, you would have capacity for $18 million worth of new projects. But where we are in our bonding interest fund, we have 4.08 mils on there for debt service now. Come 2019, if we didn't grow anymore, we would have to increase that to 5.06 mils. Now, the reason that would be necessary, in our 2009 bond issue, we have about $10 million of that for roads. And the general purpose bond fund is carrying that levy now. In our road maintenance fund, we're paying off a bond issue this next year, which would free up these monies here to go pay that, and we wouldn't have to increase.
Which is the 1.855.
Yes, that's what's used right now in road.
Right.
So we wouldn't necessarily be taking away if we've already been using it.
We have an obligation, you have the obligation there on those bonds, and you'd be just transferring that obligation over to the general purpose fund, so. and we're structuring it to where, to avoid a tax increase. But I want you to be aware of what you'd have to do if you didn't make those transfers. of the
Okay.
obligations from those funds. Because
No,
Okay.
I thought that was always the understanding, how to do this without a tax
Right,
increase.
that's it.
And that's-
Let's keep that
That
mindset.
was mine.
I think that's the consensus of the board to make sure that that's the avenue we need to take.
But that 9.98 mils generates you $18 million. And not do the transfer. If you, as scenario number 2 shows, if you did the millage increase of 0.98 mils and did the transfer, you could do 30 million. But that's a tax increase, and, that's just showing you what is available there. Option number 3 is to do the transfers, and you can do $16 million, keep the millage the same. If we get any growth, that will grow. Working with people in Laura this morning in reallocating some bridge millage, we could do at least $7 more million, or we could do $23 million and not increase the millage, just reallocate it.
How much?
When he says increase the millage, he's not talking about our overall
No.
millage. He's talking
No.
about the millage that's dedicated to the debt service and the
Right.
bondage.
Only that.
Okay.
Right, he's not talking about tax increase.
That's why I was ready to crawl over this counter.
Right.
And we knew on the onset of those bonds, the simple formula that I had done showed around 17, 18, all dependent upon growth, that we would eventually have to increase in only the debt service fund. And we're gonna try to avoid doing that.
You know, it'd be nice to be able to see sometimes out of our, 40.1 mils or whatever it is, where all the millage goes to each category, how much millage goes to road and bridge, how much
That's on our
goes.
tax levy sheet that you will get coming up September the 2nd.
Breaks it out completely.
Breaks it out, everything.
Okay.
Schools, fire departments.
But you
Now,
won't
is
get
that a-
that till we vote on it.
Is that in a pie chart or is that in a
No,
easily?
It's easily identified.
Okay,
Do you
gotcha.
think they'll print out one of those?
Well, we have that for last year, for the current year.
Right.
We have that now. To understand what Mr. Johnson's talking about, one of those items is general government, which is about 20 mils. It doesn't break it down by department.
Right, right.
Within general government. But it
Just-
does break it down by everything else, road, bridges, to include covers, Rankin first, that type of stuff.
Libraries, yeah, because there's separate millage and all that, everything out there that,
Everything shows.
Okay.
Community college, everything.
Lynn,
Then it shows the millage for the fire districts.
right, okay, so maybe
We-
you could fix and ask the same kind of question I was gonna.
but no, I was just gonna ask, all these scenarios involve coming up with some capital outlay for the projects. What do we need to do to be able to maintain our current debt structure? What are we gonna have to do next year? Are we gonna, how much millage are we gonna have to shift over for debt service to be able to cover our debt load?
In next year's, into the 4.08,
Well, it looks like next year's 640,000 and then 16 is 1.4.
This is,
no, that's, go ahead, Lynn.
this is transferring the obligation to pay road bonds to the general purpose fund and interest fund. Where you're paying off, you're paying off a bond issue in
Road
the
fund.
road fund next year.
Mhm.
These monies would follow that 2009 bond issue. And you're not dealing, you're not moving any millage, you're just.
So that's what we're gonna do to cover that.
Just moving the
How much are we gonna have to
obligation.
cover to do that?
Well, here's, I've got.
0.98?
Yeah. This is less than 50%, and I just used some round numbers here to come up with the 16 million. There's a little more obligation than I'm showing here, but it's not a lot of money.
How conservative are you with these numbers? I mean, this is, I know you keep talking about with no growth and everything else, is that?
That's conservative. I think we've got a 2.5% growth this year.
It's very conservative. Going forward after this year, we're not showing any. Every year that we grow in,
Right.
we'll have 1.5, 2 is that much more money we have to work with.
Right, yeah.
Oh,
I
so
understand.
you're being totally conservative.
Totally.
That's, well, that's, I'd like to see that because the way it's been going, I mean, even this year, our permits are down right now compared to what we were last year, so it's not, we were starting to see a climb, but it's not.
Right, but this is dealing in our ad valorem.
Right.
Because this is on the bond and interest fund, and that's its only income, is ad valorem.
Right.
And since 2011, 12 in there, it's picked back up and started growing a little
Right.
bit more each year.
Okay.
What are we gonna do with the other, .9 mills that we don't take to cover our debt structure?
That's gonna be left in road? Is
Okay.
that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
What would be left in road?
Yeah.
Well, that will be either in cash for you to work with, or keep it designated within that fund to be able to structure whatever you need within the road.
Yeah, that, you
So,
know,
going forward, and we can do this now to cover our existing debt in the road, because these are road projects we did. But going forward, we can't use that, right?
well, what we can do, I think, Mr. Bishop, is, as we talked about before, on this 4.08, as that becomes available, when we're looking into capital projects, capital budgeting.
We might as well
also
say
do the same-
5.06,
What?
because that's what we gotta have, right?
I'm sorry?
We might as well say 5.06,
Well,
because that's what we need.
No,
in it.
not if we move that obligation out to roads. It stays at 4.08. See, what this proposal is right now, we're paying the 2009 bond, all of that out of the 4.08. This proposal says take some of the cost of that 2009 bond and move it over to roads, to pay for the roads that actually was done with that. As the current road bond gets paid off, which will happen in 2015 is the last big year, and a little bit in 2016. And then I think that and there will be money left over. You're absolutely right. We're currently paying $1.3 million a year out of the roads on that bond. And so this does not this does not take up that $1.3 million. There will be other money there, and I think that what we can consider is just like we do set up capital budgeting with the 4.08, we set up some capital budgeting within roads so that you have money in roads not only for repair, that you can identify for not only for repair, but also to do capital projects in roads, such as rebuilding roads. And I think that will work. I think there will be, and I think Lynn agrees, there will be the capability to do that.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And so we can have a capital budget plan for facilities, we can have a capital budget plan for roads. And we can see what our future looks like then, rather than, and how well we're meeting that future. So I hope that, I think that we have some capabilities out there.
All right, I'm still slow, so bear with me, please. On scenario 1, are we just generating 18 million new money that we can operate off of?
Only if you was to.
Get that .98?
Only if what?
If you were to increase millage,
In the bonding interest.
In the
fund.
bond.
Go from
Bonding,
4,
not
go from
taxes.
4.08 to 5.06.
Right.
Is that right? If we do that, that'll give us 18 million. And what does that do to us on 2016 on paying our other debt bonds that we're going to end up short on?
Well, let's go back to scenario number 1.
Okay.
Scenario number 1 does not contemplate using any money out of the road maintenance fund. All that.
Nothing out of the road now.
Right.
Okay.
Scenario number 1 is just.
Right.
Say we're going to look down to Seminole Note Road. We look down here in 2019, our millage would be, would need to go up to 5.06 million.
So where are we gonna get that .98 mils then, if we don't get it from road?
That's just a scenario I wanted to make you aware of.
Oh, well, let's not talk about that scenario.
That's why it's number one.
Okay, well, you can X number one.
You're talking about an increase in overall millage to satisfy that.
Right,
Oh.
or reallocation from.
A tax,
somewhere.
you're talking about a tax increase. That's where you need to word it.
No, take it somewhere else, from
Yeah.
somewhere. I guess maybe somewhere else
Yeah,
in General
right.
County then?
Right.
Well, it would have to,
But
right?
it just have to be another, basically, meal.
Where else would it come from though?
That's
General?
policy decisions.
Lynn
Right.
can tell you though that he structured the 2 series that we did, when we moved everything out of, we were paying out of general and out of road. And when y'all did the last 2 bond issues that you did, 20 million each, we structured the bond and interest fund at a flat rate of 4.08 to carry us through, knowing that if we didn't have any growth, there could be this bump in this year and then it'd start going back down. Most counties, and I know you don't want to hear what most counties do, but just for knowledge, Lynn can tell you, when they do a bond and interest fund, they levy whatever it takes for that year. And it's always fluctuating. Like you might be at 3.96 and then you might go to 4.5 the next year. And then you might go to 4 3/4 and then you might go back down to 2.75. And a lot of counties don't worry about that. They flat levy their bond and interest fund according to what it's gonna take to meet that year's obligations.
Well, if you do that though, how does that do for your budgeting process? Cause
Right.
you're fluctuating other funds over
Well,
here too.
No, you're only hitting that one fund. You're not borrowing, taking out of. I'm talking most counties raise and lower millage in that one classification according to what
So
it needs.
you saying some counties raise taxes
Yes.
to cover
For
their
that bond
debt?
and interest, they might go up a mill one year and say for the purpose of bond and interest fund, and it affects no others.
And then
The
they'll
next
go
year-
down on taxes? Huh,
Yes,
Yeah.
okay.
that's very common.
And if you do it right, if you keep the millage constant and do proper planning, you can know what you can spend in what year and stay within, for example, if we continue to take the 4.08 mills and say we're going to devote that to capital projects, we know what revenue we have for capital projects. We take a similar, say 1.8 mills out of, in the road fund and say we're going to devote that to capital projects. We'll know then in the future what we can afford for our capital projects. And that's where that's where Lynn is going with this.
If we would keep a constant levy, we have got a roller coaster. We know what's available for capital that way, and we can do long-term planning.
Well, I know we ended up using road or bridge funds millage because we had to. But I thought that we kind of set a policy
Not to keep tapping
set-
into it.
Yeah, to set a millage, a debt service millage, and to service all our debt.
Now,
To keep going back and,
Dipping into it.
I would like to, the reason I use that 1.8 mills, that's what we're already using out of roads for debt service. We're doing that now and have for the last several years.
So you're not talking about taking more out of it?
No, I'm not talking about taking more out of it.
You're not talking, going back to the well and adding to it?
No.
Okay.
No.
So that's where it's founded.
With one, okay,
Yeah.
we currently spend 1.8 mils, maybe 1.88, I don't know, 1.8 mils out of roads and bridges on debt service.
Since,
we have a
we did that
bond.
we did that when we did the bond.
Yeah, we have a bond, we have the $330,000 we give to Pearl, and then there's another little $10,000 or $15,000 a year bond we have. You add that together, and that's 1.85 mils.
Okay.
Now, all I'm saying is we just continue, just like on the general side, that we'll continue to 4.08 mils that we say we're going to use for capital investment. We continue on the road and bridge side to use to 1.85 mils. And 1.8, a mil in road and bridge is a little bit less than on the general side too. But we continue to do that as we plan for the future. We're not taking any money away from the municipalities because it's not money going there now. So that allows us then to plan for the future. as I said, and we won't be increasing anything. Now, Laura brought up, or maybe Lynn did, there is one more piece of flexibility in this puzzle. We've got that, you remember the half mil that we moved out of general county last year, that we moved into bridge and coverage.
Right.
Now, we could possibly look at what we want to do with that half mil, understanding that that half mil really came from when y'all reduced bridge and coverage by a mil here a few years ago.
Was that year 4 last?
Mill and a half.
Yeah.
We only put back a half and we wanted to put back a whole.
Yeah, but I'm not sure that the numbers don't say that that's necessary. So that's where all of this is going, and I'll let Lynn finish.
I don't know, it's doing well, because, I mean, we all work together.
So you're not,
Yeah.
so
to
we
be-
never really had the 1.85 out of road. We've never really been using it.
The previous
So-
board had done some bonds, and that's where the money was paid out of.
Right, so what I'm saying, it was not like we're losing something, because we really, in a sense, never
Yes,
really had it.
That's correct.
Right.
And what happened, Jay, what you referred to a minute ago, when we set up the 4.08, and we were gonna pull every bit of the debt that we had, every bond, and we were gonna pull it over here, we were going to use the 1.8 that went with that, we were gonna move it all into the bond and interest fund.
But we didn't
We
because.
didn't, because it was gonna affect the cities.
Right.
It was gonna move it out of
That's
the road,
right.
into there, it would have lowered the city, so at that time, we left the debt associated with it, but that debt has been used. That hasn't been money that you've been able to have free for asphalt or roads or anything. It's been used for debt within there. So we're just saying, keep that and
Just
still
keep using
use
it for
that
debt,
money.
yeah.
Because you'll still have your growth in road, on the other end, just keep that debt.
You really won't
constant.
feel anything you lost, because you had it to use
Right.
anyway.
And when will that come off?
Well, the next full payment is
15.
15, and then there's a portion of a payment in 16, a smaller amount. And then there's an old bond in there that's less than 20,000. I think it's got another 5 years on it, but it's
20,000's all.
because it's the tail end of it. It's actually,
They didn't buy much.
no, it's actually that original, we call it a note, but it's that bond. It's that original West Rankin Parkway, that old one,
Whatever it is, nobody knows what it's for.
And it is that, just that small amount that's left. And it really gets absorbed in the budget, doesn't take much. I mean, it's less than 20,000 annually. And then we
And
have.
when does it come off?
320.
When's
It's
it-
got about 5 more years, but
Oh.
it's a very small payment.
Yeah,
Was
I
that,
guess so.
was that the Childry Road deal?
It must have been. I don't know what it was, man. I
That's
haven't
what
been
it's
figured out.
labeled as
When it was
West
fixing all
Rankin
of
Parkway
It
was before I got
/Shrewsbury
here.
Road.
It wasn't for anything. It was done
Oh, it
before I
wasn't
got
anything
here.
to do with Bloomfield.
No.
No,
Huh.
no, sir, it wasn't.
Yeah.
This was
Oh,
an
there's no
old.
telling what that is then.
Yeah. I
It's
don't
kind of
know.
odd, his name labeled.
I sure would like to know who received that money.
Yeah, who is?
Well, we
yeah.
sent it to Pearl, right?
Pearl.
Yeah, but
Well, I
who knows
know.
where it goes from there?
No, it's for, if you look at the old papers, it says West Rankin Parkway Phase 1, and I think it says /Childry Road, but it is the very beginning before there was anything else out there at all.
Must have been an environmental study.
Could have been.
Okay, so to get us.
Wetlands litigation.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, it
Yeah.
was.
You did scenario 2
Yeah, right.
to 5.6 mils plus the 1.8, or how much out of the whole 1.8?
Well, only, yes.
Okay.
Wasn't that-
Only of what?
So the best we can get is $30 million without going up on taxes.
No, 30 million.
30.
Would require some tax increase.
That's right, with that 5, yeah. So where are we at if we use the 1.8 and leave our current 4.08?
That's 3.
That's 3,
That's scenario 3?
yeah.
That's scenario 3.
And with growth, it could be a little bit more than 16 million.
Little bit more than what?
16 million.
So the best we can do, it looks like, without doing anything, would be 16 million.
To maintain levies as they're
Right.
currently in place.
And the only other option is if you choose to designate that .50 of bridge to help with anything.
That we really have not had anyway.
Well,
I mean, we've not been using
Yeah.
in bridge.
right, you
anyway.
didn't have it for 2
2
years, and
years.
then we added a half back.
Oh,
So-
that 1.5, yeah.
Right, so that half would give you greater flexibility,
That half that we put back.
correct?
So Laura, even if we don't issue any new debt, and we're okay on our upcoming payments in 16, because we can just take some from our road and pay.
Yes.
No, we got money in the bond fund.
Right.
Yeah.
We got money in the bond fund to pay 16,
Pays what?
to pay 16. We don't really start running into the hole, into a deficit until 2019.
Oh, 19?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
years ago, Jay, it would depend on the growth, and because we've had growth, it's pushed it out a little bit.
Okay, all right.
And this is even taking into account, we'd go to the 5.06 at no growth past this year.
That's right,
And
still
we're hoping
figuring
there
no
will be
growth.
growth.
Yeah, y'all need to quit, leave off this 506.
Yeah.
We don't need to discuss that.
That's just representative of what the millage is to the dollars being transferred. Now, and there's still a little bit of flexibility on the road side if we do that. Now, what we will do and what Lynn has talked about is this allows us, there's no firm plan here for you to adopt, but this gives us some scenarios that we can look at as we go into looking at the capital facilities side of things. As we look at what do we do, first thing we gotta do is figure out what are our options on the capital facilities side, and there are several options there that need to be looked at. As we look at those options, then we take this, and also on the road side, and overlay it on those options and say, what can we do? Which one of these options can we do? And how do we have to time phase it to get it done? And so we don't start at something that we get down the road and we say, we probably shouldn't have gone there, or we should have done more. So we can overlay the financials on top of the requirement and begin to get a good time phase capability of what we can do. And if we decide that we want to, say, leave the 4.08 there, that we just dedicate that to debt service or capital budgeting. We take the same thing on the side with the roads of 1.8, 1.85 out of road millage, and we do the same thing on roads, not facilities, but roads. With that, we now are beginning to develop a good, sustainable, explainable, also long-term plan, budget plan. Now, if we don't do that, let me tell you what's going to happen. We're going to get to the point that we begin to pay these bonds off, and the money that we're now putting in for capital improvements and for debt service is going to get sucked off on a yearly basis over to this black hole called operations, and it's gone.
Well, see, I'm thinking more along a tax decrease
Well,
rather than suck hole, black hole operations.
well,
You
yeah,
know,
but that,
you know, but can't
I'm
you-
telling you, after 40 years of experience. what
I
happens.
understand.
Well, so what you're saying is this 4.08 millage would be for actual building projects capital?
Yes.
And
And
then
the 1.5 would be what?
1.85 or whatever would be more for your roads?
That's correct.
Okay.
Well, no,
so-
1.85, you've already been, which one is it that you've been using out of, it's been serving a debt for some time?
Well,
That
you've
was
been,
1 point something.
we have been for some time.
1.855 out of
We are
that.
currently on the debt service side,
Right.
using the 4.08. In addition to that, we are using 1.85 road and bridges to pay off debt in road and
We've
bridge.
been using, is that the one we've been using for years?
That's the one we've been using.
So that's the one we would leave there for road,
Head off when I'm still.
That's
road,
correct.
basically road improvement.
That's correct.
And the then you mentioned a 1.5
Why would we not go ahead and
somewhere,
pay off
road and bridge.
I think that
debt that we have out
Huh?
there?
Well, you-
That's like that
0.5.
20,000 and-
The 0.5 is what we put back in there.
into coverage.
Yeah.
But that may want to consider,
Using that in
Using
addition with
that.
that.
maybe even putting that over on the road and bridge side.
I would,
Increasing that 1.85 to 2.35.
2.35 to make that, your capital projects more a lot more.
that if you're using it, it's basically with still staying in road.
But it
I
would
mean,
be capital improvement roads.
Right.
Correct?
But to keep from having to go up on millage, we are gonna have to use some of that road money. That 1.855, we are going to have to use some to keep from what is currently being funded by 4.08 from going up.
Do we know how much we're gonna need in 19? How much of an increase?
Well, Lynn's projections are to go to 5.06 we'll need that year,
Okay.
dependent upon growth within the next 4 years.
But
So then we got 0.9 of the 1.8 already accounted for that we're gonna need, really. So really, we're talking about 0.9.
0.9.
Yeah.
Right.
But,
So
and
it's
you're
there.
also being conservative with zero growth.
And that could be a huge,
I mean,
Huge
that's
factor,
a
whichever
gamble,
way.
you don't know either way, so
You don't know if
you're
it's going
safe.
up or going down.
I don't see it going down,
I don't
I don't
either.
know about going up, but at least maintain.
Well, some of these things that we have out here, I know we have to, for sure, what we gotta pay for is this communication system. And we need to come up with some way how we wanna pay for that. Do we wanna pay off some of these debts that we have, since we have cash in the bank? Do we wanna pay off some so that we don't have to wait until, I think there was like 2 years out before we were able to come down to our debt structure that what we needed?
Well, now we're talking a little bit of, not apples and oranges, it's all debt. But the communication system debt is separate from this. This is not, communication system is not included in this. Communication system is that we've got a $9.1 million agreement with Motorola, or we will have. And we currently have, I don't know, I guess we paid 14, but 15, 16, and 17 left to pay the towers, and that's a little better than $600,000 a year, and a little bit in 18, a couple $100,000 in 18. So we're talking about a couple $1 million left to pay on the towers. Now, that then has to be, or the Motorola debt is put on top of that in the 9/11 business. So I think you're right, Mr. Bishop, we could consider buying that down. So really what we're talking about there is about $11.1 million that we've got an issue with. If we could buy that down to $4 million, we could then stretch it out, and 9/11 would be able to maintain those payments out of the 9/11 fund.
So the reason why we need to pay it down, so we can get our payments at our current structure.
Right.
We're paying-
Yes, yeah, or a little bit lower, because they've gone up the last couple of
Getting
years.
your note down.
Well, it's part of the reason why I want Lynn here. Are we better to do a loan through Motorola, or are we better to do bonds? What interest rate, which way are we gonna come out better?
have they given you an interest rate?
Yes, they have, and it's a pretty good one, if I remember, 1.9. What? 0.1199, okay, is the factor, all right? Now.
What was that, what? Point what?
Okay,
Oh,
you
man.
can take whatever money you borrow, multiply it times 0.1199, and that'll be your annual payments. That's the factor I'm talking about. Now, we've got that from Motorola. The law requires that we get another quote before we do this. Laura
No, what
has
kind of
a-
quote?
What?
What kind of quote?
It's the lease purchase.
Lease purchase.
Lease purchase
Oh.
quote. And so Laura has talked to a couple of the local banks already, and we're in those discussions. And I and it's a chicken and an egg situation, quite frankly. You say, well, tell me what you've determined, and we can make a decision. But we can't get in and figure it out until y'all make a decision that we can do it. It's one of those deals. So what I would like, and we can do it today or we can do it Friday, okay? I was gonna discuss it anyhow, and this is a good enough time to do it, is for y'all to authorize us to enter into, to go ahead and to purchase the Motorola Communications contract, and we may want to pay off the $2 million tower bill on that by using, here we go, the 4.869630 from Fund 314, and that's that interest money off of the bonds, plus another, whatever it would take then from cash, the $20 million, to, and then competitively finance $4 million of that total amount.
Okay, well, if we take it out of the 20 million,
That's gonna
I'm
bring us
sorry,
down to
sir.
about 18
right,
million.
no, how would that affect us on,
Okay, what that would really do, and these are not precise numbers, but they're pretty close. We would take the 4.869 out of that fund that we've had discussions about, that's sitting out there separately. Then we would take another about 2.3 out of cash and buy down to $4 million.
and that would leave us what in cash?
That would leave
About
us
17.
probably about 18 million.
17 something.
17, 18 million. Now, let's talk about cash again. As we go through the immediate requirements in the courthouses, the Chancery Court,
Right.
security bit, ADA, and also the Justice Court. I'm gonna give you a number off the top of my head that's based on nothing other than off the top of my head. We're probably gonna end up spending $1.5 million, couple $1 million before we get through with that. So with those two together, we'd be drawing cash down to about $15-16 million.
We may have to wait a little while building a new transfer building then.
Well,
Sunk 2 million in it.
Well, I mean-
that's,
Why do we need to?
that's all part of this whole thing of looking at it and coming up with taking a look at the requirement and then saying, okay, what's the money we have to support the requirement? Maybe we can't afford requirement A, we have to go to requirement B in order to meet the operational requirements of the county. And it's an evolutionary type of thing. But I think that we are making some good steps forward in doing that. And so I'll leave it up to y'all whether y'all want to do that or not. And whether you want to give us that authority or not. In other words, as we deal with
I just want
Motorola
to make
and
sure
towers.
that I think we're all on board with doing the paying for things. Just what's our best method of paying for it? Are we going better to do a loan or lease purchase or do bonds? Which is the best
Well,
route for us to go?
Lynn, we'll keep working with Lynn on that, okay? We sent him a copy of the Motorola proposal. Laura's talking to a couple banks, and Lynn will be able, I guess, to be able to look at some other type of things. We're probably going to be it's going to be difficult to beat the Motorola rate, but it might be possible.
That's a real good deal, but I will look at it.
Yeah.
Well, we kind of under a timeline because we have to let Motorola know the 15th if we're going to do.
Friday?
Yes. We have to let them know if we're going to engage their financing or not. Friday.
Really?
We'll have another quote in here tomorrow afternoon that we could use. I don't think that we're going to be.
Timeline there, timeline here.
I may be
same
wrong,
time.
but I
All
think
these
that's
damn
what
deadlines.
I remember.
And they wait till the last minute timeline.
We did talk about that. And that's what you said at the last meeting, said if they'd come back on the 15th. Now, we could, I guess, stretch that out.
Well,
But
they have
there's
got
an issue if we stretch it out. And the issue is Pearl
and
And
Rich.
Florence.
And
No,
Florence.
no, we ain't stretching out. We're moving forward.
Yeah.
We just the only thing we might want to stretch out is how we're gonna pay for it.
Well, that's, but I think that if you would give us the authority that I just asked, we can determine that
Right.
and move on with the contract.
Yeah, we definitely know.
But what I'm really would like to have is your authority to draw down the debt to $4 million by use a combination of the Fund 314 and cash. To draw down the debt to $4 million, and I would be very happy to put the towers in that.
And we will be at that point, paying, what is that monthly or annual?
Okay,
$500,000?
currently, we're paying a little better than $600,000 on the towers. If we're able to draw the debt down to $4 million,
Yeah.
we'd be paying about $480,000 a year.
So if we do that this year, pay this right now, then we got a budget next year in that fund that there's gonna be 400,000 not spent.
And
For a
that
couple
might be a
years.
good thing, okay? Because the 9/11 fund is getting very tight.
Right. what I
That's the
understood.
concern.
Well, it may be a good opportunity for us to get it back in the line.
Well, that,
So,
exactly.
I mean, so we're not using our Grand Gulf money.
Now, of course, we use that for fire, not for 9/11.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's fire.
Nothing's simple, Mr. Bishop.
Well, let me ask you a question.
all
You know,
complex.
if we take that $2 million, draw it down to about 18, 17 and a half, somewhere around there, the 20 million we have right now in cash, to draw it down to get it to the 4 million, will we be fine then? By the time the end of the year, fiscal year, what are we basically looking at as far as, what are our numbers gonna be looking at as far as the end?
He's thinking about 17, almost
It'd
18.
really be better to ask what they'll be looking at in March or April.
That's
You know
true,
what you-
'cause, isn't that
We'll
what
be
you
better then.
I think that
will we be okay?
It'll be around 17.
we'll be fine. Let me tell you, $20 million, as Mr. Bishop has alluded to, is a hefty sum
Right.
in cash.
Well, I know the other day
Certainly.
Laura said that was,
Now, and
we
let me
really
tell you
don't
how
have
we got
revenue
there.
coming in right now. It's most of it's gonna be going out now.
The way we got there is when you guys raised millage, 2 or 3 years ago, that increased the revenues in the general fund. And our spending has been flat. So we've done a
So we've
good
been
job,
declining
y'all done a
some.
good job of maintaining control on spending.
But as always, it starts to catch up with you.
It will start to catch
I
up.
mean, it's just
And so
like
we-
wear and tear.
Well, this year, man, our budget is going up $1 million. And, well, not even $1 million, because we cut some of the raises
Right.
out. I
Yeah.
don't know what the exact number is now, but we were able to bank money this year. So based off of what our expenditures were, our revenues are gonna be more, so we're putting money in the bank still.
So it's going like
So
this
we're
instead of.
steadily growing that. And I just don't know, how do you know if you got too much and that we can come down a couple mills
Right.
and not be as high as Hines County?
I think that might be a little premature decision until we go through these things, that the process that we're talking about going through.
Like
Well-
spending this money? Doing
Like
these
spending this
projects?
money, because if we spend the money down and we're sitting here now with debt that we have to pay interest on that debt. I think that we initially took a look at buying down back down to $5 million. We were going to go, by using the cash we have, we were going to save about $1.5 million over the period.
If
of
we
that
bought
loan.
it down from 5 million.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to 5 million. We were going to save about $1.5 million
In interest?
in interest.
But you're gonna finish the project you have out of road, and that's right at, 8 million?
Now, we're talking about Motorola.
I know that. I know.
It doesn't touch road.
Motorola.
No,
doesn't
we don't
touch
have an
roads.
early road left to spend.
It didn't touch road.
Okay.
We talked about this the other day, how much we have left of our bond projects, and that's just early road. Isn't that right?
No, Ehrlich's in there. I think
Not
Gunner's,
Gunner.
Gunner may be the one that,
No,
Yeah, no,
It's not.
Ehrlich's in there, Gunner's not.
no.
Gunner's.
No, I'm talking
Ehrlich
the
is
ones that we
ongoing,
approved,
yes,
though.
Right.
and the money, the remainder comes out of road.
Right. But there's nothing left for, Old Fannin? I mean, Old Fannin?
Fannin's being reimbursed now by state. It's
Okay.
going through the federal.
We're
Right, so
actually
we're not
getting
gonna have to
money
put
off
any
of
more
that,
into
right?
it?
Not unless it's a terrible overrun.
Okay. Okay.
We paid our portion.
And I think they're actually under, well, I know on one part of it they are, on the utilities. They ran under on that, so.
You know, and the bottom line is we're in pretty good shape. I mean, that's the bottom line. Are we in good enough shape that we ought to declare victory and go out and start doing things that are not well thought out? No.
No.
But we're in good enough shape that we can start taking deep breath and do some planning, and so we don't allow ourselves to get back in bad shape in the future.
Yeah, but I'm kind of like Mr. Stringer on that, it's a little premature because we've been kind of flatlined as far as what our expenses are, but that's just like, and as you start, as my business picks up and you start working equipment and you start doing things, you start having wear and tear, and all of a sudden you have these unexpected expenses.
Well, I think
Like
we're
we're
doing
talking-
all that right along. None of
Yeah,
us
but I mean, we
checked
got,
up.
we're talking, yeah,
That's just like the money that Jay said that we would save now that we'd be able to put back into cash.
Right.
Well, I put that back into capital within general county because y'all are gonna probably use it this year on the justice court and the
right,
chancery court.
that's what I'm
It's
saying,
gonna
right there.
be used. It's not gonna be going back
Yeah.
into cash.
And we're gonna have to replace a lot of air conditioners.
And we'll have to probably use more than what's budgeted.
Yeah.
It will come out of cash.
Well, even if we spend $2 million on getting them up to where they need to be, I mean,
Right.
that's still, heck, we got 20 million in the bank.
Yeah.
You know, let me give you another number, and I
I
don't
just don't know about
don't
lowering that
truly
quick.
know what this all means, but it's a number. Last year, Judy, through the tax collector, collected ad valorem taxes for the county. And I'm talking about county government, not school, county government, about $49 million. With 1 month left to go this year, the way she counts this, she's already collected $49 million. I expect the next month she'll collect about $1 million. So I know that the ad valorem taxes collections are going up some. I can't sit here and tell you how that's split out between road and bridges in general and so forth. But the total collection, we've already collected through July as much money as we collected last year. And the way she keeps her months, there's 1 month left to go in her year. So we also have the growth that will help with this black hole called operations, and hopefully help with the capital funds. But if we're not careful, and I think you're absolutely right, my experience is if you're not careful, it goes into that black hole called operations, and gosh knows where you can find it then. And so that's what we've done over the last couple of years. Y'all have done it very well, is hold the line on that black hole and look for ways to save money. And we have redone contracts and saved, and significantly cut costs some. I won't save money, but cut costs. And we have to continue to do that. And you continue to do it a little more harder than I would like in some cases from an operational standpoint. So, as I said, I think we're in pretty good shape. We can begin to start some planning. But the first place we start, action-wise, is let's figure out what we're gonna do with this Motorola contract. That's separate from what Lynn is talking about. And then, with the understanding that we move forward and we start developing, fixing the courthouses, and then we start developing the plan for facilities. And believe me, there are more options on the table right now. You can walk down the street And everybody will tell you, did you look at this? Did you look at that? Did you look at this? We've got to eliminate things, and we got to figure out what we want to do. So,
Yeah, so what is it exactly that we gonna get for our money out of Buster?
what we're gonna get out of Buster is what we want to do.
And that is,
You know, what facilities we want where. Okay?
And we gotta,
Then-
did we put a timeline on that at all?
No, no. We'll do it, we'll contract with him at an hourly rate. Because you can't put a timeline on it.
what facilities we want where?
What was, you know, we know that we need to do something with the Chancery Court. Okay? And ever how many people in this room, we'd probably come up with that many different types of ideas of what to do at Chancery Court. Now, whether they fit operationally and whether they fit financially, you know, we don't know. They're ideas. We know we got to do something with Justice Court. And that one is a real bog.
Yep.
We know that Brian is, you know, he told us 2 years ago that he's moving to the point that he's got to have a misdemeanor facility. Now, there are considerations with that, particularly Justice Court and misdemeanor facility. They got to be basically in close proximity to each other. Chancery Court, what do? Do we build back here on this vacant lot? Do we do something to build onto the one we currently have?
Well, if we're spending $2 million on it,
No. I said, that's on both of them.
I know, but I mean, if you're spending $2 million out there,
Well, now.
is it even a consideration, we know architect will tell you, but structurally to go up with it where it is?
You mean the Chancery Court?
Mhm.
I don't know. See, those questions, we don't know the answer to those questions. And there are several alternatives. The most.
I mean, if we're gonna
Say
spend $1 million
extreme, and
on
one
each
limit.
one, it'd be nice to be able to use
And
it.
we've already talked about that. As we spend money on these two courthouses, what's that gonna do as far as extending their useful life
Yeah,
into the future?
I can see that with the Justice Court, but with the Chancery, if you're talking about building a new building,
Well,
kinda hard to see.
yeah, but the Chancery Court, we still got that wild card, the third Chancery.
I know.
We
One
still
we
got
don't
that
know,
wild card.
we don't know what's gonna happen.
Right.
And now, my guess is that that's gonna pass this year.
Well, we'll
Because
see.
last year, they ran into the issue, you know, it's always a money issue at the end of the session, but they ran into an even more significant issue that they didn't have all their Ts crossed and Is dotted on how they were gonna implement it.
That's right.
It'd be nice if they did, that way we don't have to put in an elevator and, you know, do a lot of work to
Well, I
their
think that
facility.
we're gonna have to do some work regardless of what they do.
You know, I'm telling you, if you've never been over during,
To
when
what,
they were having
Chancery?
Chancery
Justice
Court
Court.
trials, I had occasion to go because of a marriage I did that they were getting a divorce and I was asked to testify in it.
Are you serious?
Yeah, 'cause
Why
he
did you
married
marry
her.
him?
It's a long story.
Yeah, why'd you marry him?
We're recording and really no sense
Hindsight's-
of going into the details.
Hindsight's
of it.
20/20.
That's right, that
Did
might
you
be-
leave out some of it? I'm just curious.
We might need to go into executive session for that.
Were they contesting, or were they really married or not?
They
Bingo.
want their $2
Nonetheless,
back.
people are on top of each other in there, and it is a very dangerous situation, especially in one of these heated debates over child custody or
Right.
asset dividing and
If you
divorce
get the right set of
cases.
lawyers in there, it exacerbates the problem.
I mean,
Well,
it
that's a
really
word.
is
Good word
a
there.
dangerous situation. I mean, even at best. And the fact that the judges have to come in through the same routes that, I mean,
Right.
you know,
Oh, I agree.
there really needs to be
Yeah.
something done about
We-
the court system.
We know that we've gotta do something, we're just not quite sure what.
Can we add on to the back of it?
That's what I was wondering.
That's-
Well,
If you guys will humor me for a moment about that specific issue, everything that I've heard so far talking about the Chancery Court has already been discussed in the other settings. Every idea that y'all are having, they're being discussed in this group. I'm telling you, the options are vast and limitless. And if y'all will give us an opportunity to go through these options, I think we can pare it down to a manageable number of options.
Right.
That you guys can say, we like one or more of these 5 or 6 that y'all are showing us here, or possibly we don't like any of them, try again. But I think we can get it pared down where it's manageable.
And you
So-
think it's something that would meet
You can go out the back and go up.
judge's approval as well?
I am 110% confident that any idea that the group that I'm talking about comes up with will be unacceptable to the judges.
Okay.
I'm 100%
All right.
confident of that.
Gee, thanks.
Is that what we're,
That ain't really what I was wanting to hear.
No, it is what you want to hear, because what it means is their expectations don't make any sense economically, financially, politically, or otherwise. And it doesn't help you guys at all to make 2 chancery judges happy about their facility. If they're happy, none of the taxpayers are going to be happy about it. So I want them to be disappointed,
You know we're recording.
and I want the taxpayers to understand that we did
Well,
only
but
what we
that's
needed
good.
to do.
He's our attorney. He's not an elected official. He's telling us what we need to
I'm just
hear.
telling you guys,
Scared me to talk
their
here anymore.
expectations are gonna be beyond what you guys want to stomach.
I think we expected that, at least I did from the very beginning. That's what has troubled me
So I
with
see
this whole
part of our
process.
role is
Chancellor
to-
Fairley must have dressed
Part of
them
our
down
role
pretty
is
good
to
at that point.
encounter them and their expectations and to keep in mind, because they are not going to keep in mind at all. They don't care
What it
that
costs.
we've got to tend to justice court. They don't care that we've got to deal with misdemeanor. Well, I'm being a little strong. They do care about it, and they are taxpayers themselves. They probably understand it. But their primary consideration is, what are you doing about my building?
Right.
Right.
Okay, so because of that, they're gonna naturally want to overshoot what they really need. So we gotta figure out, what do they really need?
Aren't you under a judge's order?
To do something.
But it's limited to the issue of security. And so there is some impact on structure, just because of the way the building sits. But we can address the judge's needs as it relates to security without getting into in my opinion, a monumental effort of renovation of that building. Especially in light of the fact that one of the options that has to be on the table is to relocate it.
Well, I'm thinking you could almost really, if you didn't go up, but go out the back and then up.
Yeah, and that specific issue
I was looking
has
at-
already been discussed.
That's why I guess what he's saying is let them
Right.
do what they're supposed to be
I know.
doing and then bring it to us. So
But
that
I
way
just
we
want to
don't.
make, I'm glad you're telling me that it's already, these are something that had been discussed, because everything I kept hearing was let's just relocate and build this.
Right.
And that was where I thought we were running into a lot of problems as far as, what we can build, fulfilling, their dream
Yeah.
or wishes.
And I think the group that's assembled understands
Needs.
that
Needs.
we cannot let that happen.
so
Now,
is that
well,
what
there's one other-
Buster's focusing on?
I'm sorry?
Is that what we have Buster working on? What all is what's his scope of work?
His scope of work is basically what you've heard this morning. And the scope of work is, what do we need and where should we put it? Okay, and that includes, that's 2 points, but it includes getting everybody that has a stake in this input. And then working through, and as I said, putting this on top of it. One other variable in all of this, and it's called the City of Brandon.
Yeah.
Is what?
City of Brandon.
Because we're sitting right here in their city.
Yeah, anything that we do, we're gonna have to get their approval for.
Well, because they have a vested interest in, what's been done in the past.
Yeah.
They don't want to continue to see the future. They want to see it all work together.
But they
And I
don't
think-
want to move away from here.
No, they don't want to work.
And
They just,
if some of the options are that renovation as opposed to
Right.
relocation is appropriate, then I think that will be helpful as it relates to the city, because you're telling them, guys, we're improving what's already here. We're not.
right.
So.
And we need to find out who the new person is too. over there
Who the new person for? Oh, yeah. For their,
in the building department. I believe they made a change here recently.
well, I think it's out there, but they haven't hired anybody yet.
Okay.
They've got a
Oh, really?
study group to get someone, so.
I think it's Butch.
Yeah,
Butch
so far
is
it's
it?
Butch.
That's the person.
Yeah, you go to, I mean, basically it's Butch. So.
So,
What, he hadn't decided who he wants?
No,
So
he's
getting
put-
back to where, why we got Lynn here, because I'm sure you don't hear all this.
Well, no, really, all
We
this really is part of
are-
why we needed to hear some of this.
Looking at most we can afford to get and use is $16 million without a tax increase.
That's right.
Okay.
That's where we are. Wanted to put those other options out there.
Right.
To let you see, and consider, but certainly,
Okay.
I thought 3 would be the.
Yeah, be the best no matter what.
The tax increase is out.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you as always, sir. We appreciate your help.
Yes, we appreciate you.
Yeah.
Where you headed from here?
Well, I've got.
Well, let's
a
ask.
little
Lynn.
fun sale tomorrow. I'm not
Ah.
be headed there to make it. So.
Well, if you happen to look at the interest rate versus bonds and it's something that we need to know about, get back with us
Will do.
before Thursday.
Tomorrow.
Well, let me ask you something, all right. The only one, though, that really required a tax increase, millage increase, was number 2, wasn't it?
Number 1, if we didn't reallocate the money.
1 and 2.
Right.
Yeah, really 1 and 2.
all
When
right.
you look down our payment schedule and no growth in assessments where we are, in assessment values, in 2019, we would have to go to 5.06. If we didn't transfer the obligation from the road maintenance fund to the bond interest fund to pay the road bonds, it was part of the 2019.
Okay, but that is already, that's already obligated, isn't it? I mean, it's already out, we're already using that, aren't we? Or you talking about using additional?
No.
Number 2 scenario, Jared, if we want to be able to get 30 million, we'll have to use all that money that we have allocated out of the road fund, that 1.855, and we will need to increase our current millage from 4.08 to 5.06.
I
And
know.
where we get that from? Probably general county.
But not a tax increase.
Correct.
I mean,
That's
But
what I'm
that's
saying.
y'all's option, whether you do it as a tax increase on bond and interest or take it from other source.
Yeah.
But it's not.
We
right.
couldn't take it from road and bridge, correct? If it wasn't a road project.
Right, but
Right.
you could move that $500,000 out of bridge again if you'd like to,
We could?
yeah. You
Okay.
can shift
So there,
millage.
there's
Okay, I got you.
You can
We'd have to do it at
shift
the beginning of the year.
millage.
I'm
Yes.
with you.
there's
Okay.
some options without
Yeah.
doing a tax increase.
Yeah,
right.
but we could get to 30 by what Laura just said.
Right.
If you reallocate the millage, yes.
Yeah, reallocate millage.
Yes.
And that's one of these options here to stimulate, you know, how we can get there based on our needs. You know, developing a capital plan for long-term planning purposes and what we need, when do we need to do it, how do we pay for it, rather than looking at it on a year-to-year basis. That's
Right.
what we just say, and we're doing that in other places, and it's, you know, it really brings, you know, out what you really need and how to get there.
Yeah.
At some point in time, you're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
And I think we know down the road, we got some stuff coming, and this helps us decide on how to get there too, for sure.
And I know I mumble a lot, I'm not a real good speaker, I do better on paper with my pen than I do with my tongue. Don't let me leave you confused.
Oh, no, I'm
I
I'm
wasn't
not
gonna let you do
confused.
that. So.
I'm not confused.
I'm a little slow. It takes me a little while to get it, you know, but I think I'm there now. Yeah.
You finally got me down to number 3 for sure.
Yeah, number three works.
Yeah.
Number three works.
If we needed 30 million, we could do number two, so.
Reallocating it.
Yeah.
Sounds like
That-
you-
You got it. That's what this is all about.
Yeah.
That's what this is all about. And there may even be a number 4 later if we move the half meals.
Well, I'm sure they could be number 4, number 5, number 6, and just,
There's quite a few.
Well, number
Yeah.
two just puts us.
But the main thing I'm looking at is, if nothing,
maxing it out.
we wouldn't have to increase
One of them.
Yeah.
any, as I call, taxes.
The risk of let's-
If,
Well, we can't-
and we could make this others
Else
work
would hurt you.
if we needed to,
Now we have to increase.
with the taxes
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
the tax
Yeah,
increase
we
that
could.
we've already done
We've already issued
and
it.
everything.
Correct.
Right. We could work our
Right,
same
moving
money.
it around,
Right.
Because once you've issued
I
it,
could
you've
see,
issued
I
it.
could see
Yeah.
getting the $30 million.
Yeah.
Within the current levy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that's good to know. Not that we'd have
We
to
could.
use it, that's good to know that it's,
That we could restructure stuff to make
If
it
we
happen.
move that half mil into the 4.08 and make that 4.58, we then are probably taking a look at a bond capability of $23 million.
well,
So like I
that's
said-
good. Not that I know that we'd want to do that, but that's good to know that you have that option, that we have that we could work with without changing anything damaging.
So now then, let's go out and take a look. We know we got some options. Let's take a look at the requirements.
Well,
Right.
this is what I wanted to see
You know,
before this Motorola thing
we've
popped up.
discussed in generalities about local companies being able to take some of our debt. Lynn, have you heard anybody around the state doing that, where they offer, is there a way that we could offer our local companies to use some of our debt so they could get some interest off of it? If we were to do bonds, I know like doing this Motorola deal, the interest rate's so low that they wouldn't want to fool with it probably. But if we were to do, you know, say build a building, or we go to make these improvements, could they, and we did bonds on it, could we work it so that, say like our Leon or community bank could buy some of it and have local people participate?
That would be hard to do, especially under the new security laws that took place July 1. Now, we can do private placements, and I'm doing more private placements on bond issues.
What is that?
That means we go through the Mississippi Development Bank to get the authority to go to a community bank, whoever would want to buy these bonds and hold these bonds. They can't retail them out, you know, they have to hold them.
All
in
of them.
Portfolio, all of them. And, you know,
So you go through the Mississippi Development Bank and you do private placement. So if you did 10 million, you could still let one bank do 5, another bank do the other 5, or the development bank do 5 and the private bank do 5, or is it, how's that work?
The Development Bank would be the conduit bank. They're not gonna take any.
They're not doing any?
But that's where the statutory authority comes from to be able to do that. You can do it with multiple banks if they want
Okay.
to participate.
All right.
that way. Most of those banks want to look at no more than 15 years.
Does it have to be a bank?
Rather be anybody that can sign the big boy letter that says.
Yeah, I got the money to,
Yeah, I got the
okay.
money, and I'm not gonna resell these bonds and do all of that.
What was that limit you said, Mo, 15 million?
15 years.
15 years, okay.
Okay. Well, doesn't the development bank, they also do bonds too, don't they? Okay, all right. So that gives us some options then. So, because it's obviously it's profitable for them, isn't it? The private, since you're doing some, obviously it must be profitable for the local banks.
Yes, and you're not, well, you're under stiffer rules when you put out a offering that is gonna be retail or other people buy. The security regulations have really tightened up.
Okay.
which is good. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad.
So that's really our only option of being able to offer that.
Right.
And there's no way for local people to be able to buy any other than that method you just said.
Not not as I understand it now.
Okay.
Question, no, I don't think that would be practical.
All right.
Now, the local people can, if they work through an underwriting firm or have a relationship there, when you sell bonds. in the
Yeah.
open market,
Just like anybody
yeah,
else.
just like anybody else.
Okay.
You can do, and the rating agencies are looking at leases, and all of that as debt now. They'll want to know more about all of the leases when they go to the market. I just did a rating last week. There was more time spent on the operating debt, leases, costs, than they were the bonded debt.
Do we get rated only whenever we want to go back to get money, or do they just
Well,
every now and then rate you?
you have to, every 2 years, in the past, it was on a 2-year timeline, they would do, desk audit. We have to do continuing disclosures every year. They have to be timely prepared. You may at some point in time get a letter, maybe addressing some of that. I think we have to have, I believe March 31st is the deadline for getting audits out. Reporting's done on that. Getting your continuing disclosure filed in March. And these are critical dates that we have to comply with now. So.
Well, just let us know. We're looking forward to going back to New York.
That was Jay Bishop.
Could that be stricken from the record?
Let the records reflect that, please.
Quick, you need to be reminded.
Thank you, Lynn.
Appreciate it, Lee.
Always a pleasure.
Call me anytime you need to.
Sure will.
Okay, thanks, Lynn.
Thanks.
Okay.
Well,
Take care.
all right.
You go get your folder?
Oh, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Yeah, Knoxville may be needing that.
Well, there's,
Thank you.
All right, take care there, Lynn.
Now,
that was that last comment that threw me.
Yeah, it threw a little bit of all of us, so that's,
yeah.
bye.
Mr. President, before we actually get into the budget then, to continue on with the Motorola,
Yes, sir.
we had agreed, I think at the last meeting you had, that you'd have them here and we'd have Chuck take pictures and that type of stuff announcing that we had entered, or are entering into a contract with Motorola to redo this system. But what I'd like to get the sense of the board is on the financing, so we can move forward with that. And that is a little bit, something new has been put into it this morning, and that is to go ahead and pay off the towers, which I think is a good idea,
Right.
quite frankly. But get the board's sense, or even get a motion this morning that we can basically, after adding the towers, to use the cash on hand out of both general fund and this 314 to draw the financed portion down to about $4 million. And that allows us then a good steady payment over the next several years out of the 911 fund.
And this won't actually start till 18,
I think that's right.
about 8.
Well,
We're 18 months out, so that would.
18 months, not fiscal year 18, 18
Oh,
months.
18 months.
18 months.
The only reason I thought about that was, the timeline,
Yeah. There's a
if we
timeline
don't
issue.
do that, then our notes, by the time we get all this installed, start our paying, we're gonna have to be paying double payments a year. That's the only reason I suggested go ahead and paying off the towers. That way we're paying, we know what we're looking
Straight
at,
up,
which
right.
we're already at, or we'll be below.
And that's just coming out of general.
The towers will come out of general along with another, about
$4
$250,000, $240,000.
I mean, if it's coming out of general, is where you get the extra.
Yes, yes,
Right.
yes. Yeah.
2.5 out of cash.
We don't have a choice, right? I mean, that's where it's got to be.
Well, you know, nothing else works if we don't do this in the future.
No, I'm just saying.
Yeah.
That's the only
Do we
way.
No, I'm
have
just
a
clarifying, it
place-
comes from general. I mean, I,
Do we
Yeah,
have another
it-
place we can pay the $2 million from?
Yeah, that's
plus the
correct.
road
No,
No,
we
half a
don't.
million we take
Plus the
from
road
the,
money.
well, it's not quite a half from three
General
fourteen, that
plus the
fund,
road
that
money.
extra money that
Gonna
we
have
had
to-
placed
That
out
$5
there,
million.
right.
Yeah.
And then 500,000 thereabouts, and then the rest would be general. That's the only place we have to draw it from.
I mean,
So
yeah,
we
it's the
could
road money
put-
plus the two, but plus
Well,
money coming out of general.
Whatever it takes to buy it down
Right.
and to get the old one paid off.
Right.
And there
Yeah.
might be a small savings, it wouldn't be a whole lot at this late, but we still 3 or 4 years out there, be a little bit of savings off of paying off that other one early.
Well, if we pay it all off right now, then that will leave us $600,000 that we had budgeted this year
For the
and next year that we should be able to,
Well, basically what they'll do is they'll take $600,000 out of general and save the $600,000
Correct.
in the 9/11.
Right.
And 9/11 can use it, let me
That's
tell you.
right.
Okay.
yeah, cause I remember now, we like at $2 million. What is gonna be our solution on 9/11, on our 911 fund, other than going to the legislature and getting them to give us some money from cellular companies?
That is something we're gonna have to continue to work on, but I don't have any more confidence that we'll be any more successful with that than we did Section 42 housing, for the same reasons. The,
Lobby's too strong.
Well, then, there's a big difference in Section 42 housing and 9/11. We spending $2 million
but I'm
a
talking
year.
about from a legislative standpoint, I expect about
Yeah.
the same results. This will help with 9/11. I don't know if it solves all the problems, but this helps with 9/11 by reducing expenditures by about $120,000 a year out of 9/11. You know, for years to come.
Right.
So that's part of what this plan is. It may
Right.
not be the total solution, but it certainly goes a long ways and helps in the near term.
Are we, this year, I didn't remember, do we carry over a balance this year? A little bit?
We haven't got to the end of the year, but yeah.
I mean, our budget
Yeah.
going in next
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
Our budget next
Yeah.
year, we got a little carryover?
Yes.
All right.
All right. Do I have a motion to add this item to the agenda?
So we,
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Johnson. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. So I have a motion to take this balance down to $4 million. Is that
Basically, the lawyer can write the.
Right.
and to pay off our tower
Yeah, pay off the towers
debt.
and finance $4 million into Motorola
Pay the
debt.
balance out of cash budget.
gotcha.
Put that
And we'll be using it more, we're gonna be coming, just like I said, the ballots come out of, general, the majority of it come out of road.
Well,
Majority out
Out
general.
of 340.
It's all out of general except for the $4.8 million, which is in a special fund.
But it's, was
That came from the bonds.
for the
came
bonds,
from the
for
bonds,
the
yes.
road projects.
Yeah.
Well,
Motion.
road and capital outlay, yeah.
Motion by Mr. Bishop, second by Mr. Johnson. Any more questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries. All right, let's get into budget discussion.
So since we're now gonna be $600,000 to the good in 911, do we have to balance that out?
No, we
No, I can
carry
show
on
us cash
cash.
forward.
We can?
Just cash
Okay.
forward, yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I can show us cash-
It's a
cash
special
forward.
fund. You know, I think that what I'd propose is to let's let Laura start off once again with what our schedule is on what we've got to do.
Yes, I think that'd be good.
On, get done on the budget.
Yes.
All right,
Okay.
this might get lengthy, so I better make a pit stop.
Me too.
What's
Pit stop.
Should we all take a break real quick?
Laura, do you have a new
I think that'd
printout
be a
for us?
great,
I do.
I think that'd be a great time to take a break.
on behalf of Jessica, thank y'all for
You
taking.
laughed at me.
Yes, ma'am. We're still recording. Keep in mind, we're still recording, but we will be taking a break. Because Jessica has to
It's mostly me.
take a break.
Thank you. Let's see here. We still got a,
Did they take,
we still got a 1.1 million increase.
yeah, let's see where we're at here.
That should have been less. Wasn't it 1.1 that we started at?
Well, she didn't take out that 100,000 on the, vehicles. On the
What?
Sheriff?
Really?
It's still on, I don't know. Didn't we tell her? It's still on there. Look at the second page. Didn't we say that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Number,
Man, I'm going to have to give me some glasses. I see that already.
200?
This type's getting smaller.
mine's out. I think I'm
Yeah,
going,
it's still there though.
Extra reading glasses.
I'm going to get mine. It's out in the car, out in the truck, I mean. Got my attorney sitting here, so I'm
She
good.
took it out. I think she didn't make the change. That line is substantially less.
Oh, is it?
Sheriff.
Yeah, I think
Because
she took it out.
that
Well, it's
line
still
was
showing.
500,000 plus.
She
and
just
it's
didn't
now
take out the
283.
text.
Oh,
She just didn't take out the explanation.
Yeah, 'cause
But
I think
the-
she actually took it out.
The actual increase is 200,000 less than what was showing on the prior.
Yeah, but at the, on the last page though, our original increase was 1.1.
I think that's what I remember.
Yeah.
I had a mental note that number didn't change. So it must be somewhere.
And it
else.
very could be that she put in that 250 in for the conference center.
Conference center.
I bet that's what she did. Yeah, so that would equal it out, cause we probably just knocked off about that much money
That's
out of the
pretty
raises.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Boy, you're smart, Craig.
Just you.
So, is Buster and George, are they looking at just the Chantry and what is affected with Chantry? Or are they going and looking at every single department?
No,
And-
I think it's gonna be broader than that, than just Chancery. In fact, I'm confident it is, but it's, because it necessarily, Jay, is gonna include clerk, assessor, collector, and those considerations too.
Right, I mean, yeah,
Those
the ones that are
things.
associated with it. Yeah.
So when we say Chancery, a lot of times I'm just thinking about the court.
I got you, yeah.
But the scope is beyond that.
Yeah.
What didn't I take out of the text?
Was it
The 100,000 for the
Oh,
sheriff?
yeah, I just forgot to take it out of there. I mean, it's out of the money. I
Yeah,
just forgot to take
yeah.
it out of the description.
The total doesn't seem like it changed.
It did, and I'm gonna tell you where I reallocated it. Well, I have it in all.
Write something out for
Okay.
Jessica
Yeah,
to put.
this does not go in.
Okay,
This
yeah,
is
yeah,
just
don't
a
use this
worksheet
as
I
a
broke
Yeah,
up
I've got it.
for 'em.
Yeah, I've got
So
the word
it didn't
perfect.
go-
Or
Yeah,
word.
it didn't go in.
And then it's good, Wood's not able to come. It's not,
I know.
oh, what? It's not good he's not able to make it. At least last week he was able to be here, but he must really be doing bad not to.
Yep, what I've heard, yep.
Feel for him, for sure. Greg took y'all seriously. He meant he's going on a break.
I ain't got my glasses.
All right, we ready now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, today is the last budget work session that we're gonna have. Our last meeting, our next meeting will be Friday, which is our regular.
Y'all hear that? Laura done put the law down. This is it.
Unless y'all wanna meet tomorrow.
No, ma'am, I think that's great.
And because Monday I have to have it to the paper to advertise our, tax levy, that there will be no increase, and also our budget hearing, which will be September 2nd. Before we get into this too much, we do need, if this is y'all's pleasure, an executive session. The matter I brought to y'all out of, the solid waste, the employee, the transfer,
Yeah.
both Judy and John would like a chance to speak to y'all today. Judy would like to plead her.
Can we not do that the 15th?
Well, I
No.
got to know, I gotta have.
Gotta
the
know before
numbers,
Jay.
set.
Well, he can wait till the 15th.
Well, you know,
Okay.
it's
We
not
may
really
as
gonna
well-
change the general
we may as
county
well
budget, but they
let
wanted
them hear.
time to.
They're both gonna plead their case for
All
it.
right. Okay.
Separately in executive
Separately.
session.
Huh?
Separately in executive session.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know.
We all want to get that out of the way first.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
go
what I
ahead.
thought. Go ahead and get that out of the way.
I make a motion to discuss the need to go into executive session.
Motion by Mr. Johnson,
killing this thing. Second.
second by Mr. Morrison. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
Make a motion to go into executive session and discuss personnel.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Johnson, second by Mr. Morrison. Any questions? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, like sign. Motion carries.
They're taking a break now.